I talk to the plants, I talk to the flowers, I talk to the trees, I smile at everybody. I grid when I run. That's one of my biggest ways to grid physically. Obviously, I'm also traveling all around the world. But when I'm simply running in whatever town I happen to be in at whatever moment, sending love bubbles to everybody who will look at me, and I give them eye contact and I smile. That's grid work. Welcome to Activations with JJ. In today's episode, I'll be sharing with you a little bit about what's on my radar for 2024 as we further dive into some of the topics from our 2024 energy update. I'm excited to elaborate a little bit more on some of these themes. So without any further ado, let's get going. Hello, my friends. Here we are already 5 days into 2024. How are you feeling in this new year? I'm loving the energy so far. There's been a little bumps, a few ups and downs. I'm feeling some collective recalibrating going on. I just had a session and I was sharing with the person who had said, I think I'm picking up on some collective anxiety. And I said, oh, let me tell you about that. And my experience had coincided with hers. I was like, you know what? I go through it too. I am right here with you. I had a moment today and it was like a really heightened anxiety I don't normally feel. And I was really surprised. It just hit me out of nowhere. So I put some things in place. I kind of just sat with it, observed it, but decided to change my environment and my circumstances to deal with it a little bit better. And it all kind of dissipated, but a lot going on, a lot of energy. Many of you I know are tapping into this beautiful Year of the Dragon energy. And I'm so excited. I'll be doing a special podcast episode all about that. It's, as many of you know, it's one of my favorite topics. I'm hoping to bring in a couple of my little star seeds, especially Blue Dragon, to help us launch this new Year of the Dragon, the Year of the Wood Dragon. Such an incredible frequency to get us set. And this is part of, the reason why I think one of my main themes for 2024 is coordinated grid work efforts. Because essentially what we're doing is we are activating the dragon ley lines, right? We are activating that crystalline grid, and we are doing it in a way that is intentional, that is consistent. And for all those reasons, I created my Starseed Gridwork Community, which I talked a little bit about in my 2024 monthly energy update. Now, speaking of those podcasts that I just put out, I don't know how many of you listened to them, but I had two. One was just a regular energy update for the year. The other one was a special channeled message for January. And the people that came through, the group that came through was a council, an Atlantean council of grid keepers, okay? It was interesting because I noticed some people prickle with the idea of Atlantis, and we're still educating everybody and the collective about the fact that Atlantis has a bad rap. There was definitely a timeline of Atlantis where there was destruction. They were self-centered, and there were also timelines where we call that golden Atlantis, and they were able to achieve collective planetary ascension. That is why we were called during the 1212 portal to merge with that golden Atlantean energy so that we could compress all of those timelines into our current timeline, all the golden frequencies, Atlantis and Lemuria and also Avalon and a whole bunch of other ones, any golden frequency there was, into this timeline so we have the best possible chance. And really, it's not a chance, it's going to happen, of achieving this planetary ascension. So that being said, I wanted to do a little bit deeper dive today into the concept of planetary grid work. Many people, no matter how many times I speak about it, are still learning, and I am holding space for all the learning going on. And do you want me to tell you a little secret? I'm still learning. I'm still learning too. I am constantly bringing through information in my gatherings, in my sessions, and this is stuff that I did not know before. So I'm grateful that I'm having sessions with you all, that I am able to facilitate some of these gatherings with everybody here, because it really helps me and holds space for me to channel information that benefits every single one of us, me included. So that being said, I want to just kind of give you a little bit of a lay of the land of what my Starseed Gridwork community is all about. I am sure that not everybody that is listening to this podcast will feel called to join it at this point in time. I totally understand and honor that everybody has a different and unique journey, but I do want you all to understand what it is and how it works, and then how what our community is doing wraps into the idea of grid work as a whole that can be done, by anybody, anywhere, not just the people in my community. So the way that my gatherings look is a little bit different. And I think I talked enough about this in the last couple of podcast episodes that many of you understand the why, but I want to tell you the what. First, we have every first Sunday, I should say, of the month, our monthly live energy update. This is a 90-minute in-depth energy update where I'll be channeling information pertaining to the collective gathered there, in particular, grid workers. And what I feel will come through is our game plan for the month. Following the monthly energy update, we'll have 2 planetary gridwork gatherings, and I have structured those so that one occurs in the morning Pacific time and one occurs in the evening Pacific time, just to accommodate all the time zones around the globe. If you've never joined one of my gatherings before, it is absolutely a global experience. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be co-creating with people from across the planet, but it is what is happening. We have everybody from every continent, and it's thrilling to see how many people are feeling that call. Speaking of calls, and by the way, those are 75-minute gatherings. Those we do the grid work. We literally do the grid work, and then we talk about what we're going to go out and do on our own, physically, maybe going places or astrally going places, as we carry out the game plan that we download the first energy update of the month. But back to what I was saying about the call. I recently posted a reel, and some of you might have seen it. This reel is probably one of my top viewed reels in the last 6 months. And when I see a reel performing like that, it gives me an indicator of where the collective is. And I don't know how many people realize this. I'm sure lots do. Every single piece of content that I create, whether it's a podcast, a gathering, or a simple, minute and a half reel, I am honing in on exactly the message that wants to come through, and I am receiving guidance from our collective higher selves, our collective team that is assisting Gaia at this time, especially the grid work piece. And this is the description. This is actually the wording that came through that I channeled. This song is a call to portal keepers, code keepers, record keepers, key keepers, wisdom keepers, crystal keepers, grid keepers. 2024 will be a year of collective action. We will combine our gifts and carry out a massive quantum leap. There is no need to be afraid. This is what we came here to do. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. So again, that reel with that text and some light language behind it is one of my most viewed over this last 6 months. Maybe it might even come to a year. You might notice that the verbiage in that reel was reflected in the Atlantean Council of Grid Keepers channeled message as well. Some of those same titles. People told me that when they heard that reel and they heard those names, those titles, there were some that hit them so, so deeply. If that is you, those are the people that we need. Everybody has their own specific gift. And I'm calling in a well-rounded group of grid workers into this membership portal, you could say, this Starseed Gridwork Community for that reason. Now let's talk a little bit more. I gave you kind of when we gather kind of what we're doing, but let's get into the nuts and bolts for anybody and everybody who's curious about what this gridwork thing is, whether or not the community is for you. Essentially, when we talk about gridwork, and I'm just kind of tuning into our collective guides to feel what wants to come through right now, because I think it's important for me to use specific verbiage. If you look on my landing page for the Starseed Gridwork Community, you just click on the link below here in this description, that wording was channeled as well. I needed to be very, very clear as to what grid work actually was. What was the intention of the grid work? What was the intention of what we were doing? And I had to think about that. I was like, oh, how do I, it's like anytime you're trying to promote something, you want people to be able to feel into, what is this? What the heck is it? What is this thing that I'm doing? And the purpose of our community is to provide a sanctuary where collective awakening and active grid work flourish. So my goal was not just to create a resource portal. I wanted a living, breathing collective ready to ignite this 5D planetary grid with two different, goals: intention and collaboration. I have 12 grid workers that are like my support team. So they're actually doing grid work on the community, which I know that's like, okay, wait, what are you talking about? They're doing in miniature what we're doing for Gaia. Let me put it that way. I have people behind the scenes doing energy work. I have people out in the front that are going to be right there in the gatherings with me, just like I did last year. And so that's kind of what I want to teach you about what grid work is. Some of you are going to be out in the forefront. You're going to be out creating content. You're going to be showing the world what you're doing. Some of you are going to be behind the scenes. You're going to keep a journal, and you may not show anybody. If you're in the community, though, I'd love for you to show it. I'd love for you to share what's coming in for you. Some of you might have seen I'm sharing in my Threads account. It's kind of like Twitter, but Instagram created it. If you don't know what it is, the link to follow is below. But this thread account, every day I am posting a page from a new journal I started the day after the solstice, which for me felt more like a New Year sort of fresh start thing than following the Gregorian calendar. I so far have every single day posted a photo of that journal. And you know what? It's not complicated. It's a word and a simple drawing. Like some of them look like a little kid did it. Those are light codes. And I feel drawn to share it. Like I said, not everybody's going to feel drawn to share what they do, but I feel drawn to share it because I've had people telling me they're doing grid work behind the scenes, and the pictures that I'm posting are supporting them and making sense to them. And so I want you to know that there are so many ways to do grid work, so many ways. You can do grid work sitting at home. You can do grid work traveling the world. You can do grid work by yourself, and you can do grid work in a group. Please, please, please know and understand that the theme I shared in the 2024 energy update of sovereignty is so critical to how you do grid work. No one else should tell you how to do it. I obviously want you to understand the intention behind it so that you're like, you can even identify it. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. But don't let anybody tell you how you should do it. You probably already have impressions on it. This is why I did my Akashic Remembrance. And this is why at the end of January, I decided to do a grid worker remembrance workshop, because I did my Akashic Remembrance workshop and had a huge response for that. So much powerful information came through. I actually haven't thought about posting that, but by the time you listen to this, you know what? I'm going to make that playback available because it was so powerful. It was so enlightening. Even me, everything that was dropping in, I was like, what am I saying? What is coming in? I was super activated by my own words that our guides, we had the grid worker dragons come in, and that was so fun. But again, you can, if you want to listen to it, if you want to listen to the playback, just click on the link below. I've got access to that for you. But what I was saying was, my guide said, okay, the Akashic Remembrance workshop was just warming everybody up. Okay, now it's time for the grid worker remembrance workshop, because now you're gathering grid workers and they need to start remembering specifically lifetimes where they already did this. I had a session the other day and I was like, you know what your guides are saying? The cellular memory activation that we're facilitating right now is kind of like reminding you that you already know how to ride a bike. Your cells are like, oh, we've done this before. We did it in this life and that life and this life and that life. Oh yeah, we We get it. We know how to have more of the DNA activated. We know how to handle this light body. That's it. That's what's happening with all of this remembrance. That's why remembrance, honestly, is another really big theme. I didn't really tune in and share that in the 2024 annual update, but it's an underlying theme in everything. Obviously, it was something that came through at the end of 2023 too. But this whole remembrance piece, my friend. So if you're interested, I have that Gridwork or Remembrance workshop at the end of the month. If you're part of my community, you get a special rate on all of my offerings. You get you get free attendance at several of the gatherings, but some of these other offerings, courses, workshops, you get a pretty nice discount on some of those. So that's just a little perk that I wanted to add in so that you are more enticed to co-create, because what I found, and I honestly used to feel like a little awkward about it. I was like, I don't want to have everybody like feel like they have to be, it's obligatory to do everything with me. My kid said, but you're missing the point. There are some people whose role is to gather people of a similar frequency and co-create in a collective way, big undertakings. And if you don't step in and create containers for them to gather in and hold space for each other in, they're not going to find that potentially somewhere else. So it's like, okay, fine. So that's why I do have these containers if you feel drawn to co-create. I feel like those of you who have been cocooned, you're going to start opening, you're going to start being willing to step into those. And I promise you, it's always fun, because remember, one of the energy update themes was inner child. Always bringing in that inner child. Always bringing in that inner child. So speaking of that, a piece of the grid work, and I don't always love using the word work. I almost want to call it grid play. Just whenever you hear me say grid work, just hear the word grid play. I feel like the SEO on that wouldn't be as good because I feel like people are probably searching grid work and not grid play, but you get the picture, right? If I tell you the underlying name is grid play, we are having fun while we're doing this. Otherwise, why would we be doing it? You've heard me say that before. You're going and playing in the sand and you're activating the earth. I do weird things when I go on my runs. I like give the plants high fives. I'm not joking you. I like talk to the plants. I talk to the flowers. I talk to the trees. I smile at everybody. I grid when I run. That's like one of my biggest ways to grid physically. Obviously, I'm also traveling all around the world. But when I'm simply running in whatever town I happen to be in at whatever moment, I'm like sending love bubbles to everybody who will look at me, and I give them eye contact and I smile. That's a grid work, even though you might not think about it. I talked about how you could do this anywhere you go. Other larger kinds of grid work remind me of something I did with my little starseeds this summer when we walked up a mountain and we felt drawn to open a portal. That's a big one. When I go to the UK in May and we have our Star Mothers retreat, and I'm also doing a gridwork excursion and a gridworker workshop there, we are going to probably be working with more portals. That's what I was told. More stargates, more portals, and a lot of dragon activation. It's interesting, though, that it didn't happen this October 2023 when I went. I was not drawn or called to wake up the dragons yet. Then I remembered, 2024 is the year of the dragon. Why am I going? Okay, I get it now. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have that link ready on January 15th. There's a wait list, though, if you're in Star Mother's Worldwide Portal and you look at the retreats, you can join my wait list for that. I think I also have it on my website. But I'm excited. Can you tell? I'm so excited. I've just been planning that retreat, exactly what we're doing. And we're going to be in Avebury most of the time with the stone circles. There's like a galactic runway. If you've ever heard of that, you can look it up, all that fun stuff. But essentially, it can be from as big as opening stargates and portals to as small as talking to a grain of sand or writing light codes in the sand or giving a tree leaf a high five. Because your DNA is touching that whenever we walk barefoot. I think I talked about this before. When I was in Hawaii for our New Golden Age of Lemuria conference, and this year we're going to Shasta, which is going to be so fun. but last year's conference was in Kauai. We did a hike to a beautiful waterfall. And there was a guide, and the guide was walking barefoot. And I was like, I should do that. I was like, is it safe to walk barefoot? I mean, they couldn't really say yes, but I felt like I was fine. I took my shoes off and I walked barefoot for like a mile. And I knew I was gritting. I knew my bare feet, it wasn't just for me to ground, because obviously you know how you can earth and you can ground and you can touch, your feet to the land, and it helps you anchor that in. But it was for also me contributing and flowing codes into Gaia. So there's so many fun ways to do grid work. There's something coming down the line, and I feel like it's coming very soon. And it's really weird because the way I work in really big spurts of creativity. I will pump a lot of stuff out all at one time, and then I'll kind of go into a little bit of a lull. I do feel a book coming forward. A lot of people have asked me, like, are you going to write a book? And I do. I would love your support and positive energy towards me finding the time and the frequency to allow this to flow easily and the birth of the book to come with grace. Many of you know I have a lot of responsibilities other than activations with JJ, Gridwork, and all the other Starseed things with my family. And I want to serve the collective, but I also am here to be a mom and a partner and, a daughter, whatever roles I'm playing. And I want to be able to find balance in that. So I've asked my guides, I said, look, I want to do all this too. Make it easy. Make it easy. I'm here. Will you please make it easy? So my goal is to come up with a book which feels a little bit more masculine. My style traditionally with teaching is kind of in flow in the gatherings, and I'm not really documenting it per se, but I have built out my team a little bit where I have that ability to ask them to take some of what I could channel and create a book in a format where it could activate people. I'm being activated by so many books right now. Speaking of that, 2 that have been in my field, Bringers of the Dawn, I've been talking about that for a long time, but what just dropped in was the Magdalene manuscript by Tom Kenyon. That is fascinating and resonating so much with me. Actually, that has a lot to do with the Divine Masculine Activation group that I will be holding on the 7th of January. So if you heard me say Earth Star Council and you didn't reach out and now you're like, ooh, I want to participate in that, you got to send me an email and I will let you know how you can co-create with this group of men. We're coming together. It's happening this year. There's a lot more divine masculine activation. I know you're in the minority with regards to my particular audience. I get it. Like when I see you come in, it's definitely not the majority. The majority are women. So I'm excited to create this space for you and provide what I can with my gifts to help expand the collective divine masculine and specifically the men. So that being said, whoosh, that was a lot. I am really looking forward to what's coming around the bend for 2024. I want you to sit with some of this grid work and allow yourself to call in little bits and pieces for you. What is most important for you at this time with regards to grid work that you could be doing for Gaia? Also, holding space for you to release a fear of working with other people when it comes to doing light work or grid work, because as they dropped in, we're stronger together. We can do more together. And that's my goal with the Starseed Gridwork community. It's there for you whenever you feel the call. All the info that I referred to in this podcast episode is down in the show notes. You can take a look at those links. And remember, my website is brand new. I'm just pinning down the dates for all the different travels I'll be going on this year, just to give you a little sneak peek. Some of this isn't even already updated. It might not be by the time you listen to this, but I'm getting there. Because it's kind of all developing over time. But I'm potentially going to Kauai in February. Also, Sedona, I'll be holding a light language workshop there in March. Of course, we have our UK Avebury, Glastonbury retreat in May with Star Mothers Worldwide. And then after that, I will be in Mount Shasta for the Lionsgate Portal Channeling Conference. Lots of incredible energy. I'm already feeling for that. The other surprise gathering or the surprise event that I think I'm 99% sure it's locked in, is that I will be headed down under again this year. I am going south into the southern hemisphere to Australia this time for a Star Mothers Worldwide event. And so I'm excited to see those of you down there. It was fun to see you in New Zealand, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in that area. At the same time, I'll probably be going to Hawaii. So there's, it's always nice to just kind of hop to Hawaii, then hop down there. It saves the trip from being super, super long for me. But I hope that, some of my travels inspire you in that you may have been feeling drawn to go places. You might actually feel more drawn to plan this year than you did before, where it was more maybe fly by the seat of your pants. My last year was fly by the seat of my pants a lot. I mean, I had like a month's notice before I went to the UK and held my event. Nobody knew I was going there, not even me, until about a month before. But this year it does feel more masculine. It feels like there's some planning, there's coordinating going on. It feels good to be in that energy. It's balancing last year out. And again, it's such a wonderful blessing to be able to see many of you in person. There's something about meeting physically. And I've said this over and over again. The Mount Shasta conference in August is designed to have a lot of people attend, around 100 to 150 attendees. Can you imagine how powerful that's going to be? Now, that's small compared to what my guides have shown me when we gather in stadiums as light workers and grid workers. Just imagine what we're going to be able to carry out. It's going to be beyond our imagination. So that being said, my friends, I'll go ahead and close out this episode with gratitude, deep, deep gratitude that you're here. You're here supporting this frequency and this energy, that you're on this planet right now, bringing your gifts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me and we are we. Until next time.